This, of course, is still Newsday on the Arise News channel. We're going to cross live to Abidjan, Ivory Coast, for the Africa-India Partnership Day, which is part of activities lined up for the African Development Bank 2025 annual meetings.
The project has benefited Mozambique by enabling the country to manufacture solar PV modules locally and consequently resulted in reduction of import of the same from other countries. Collaborations in the financial sector is another key dimension of the emerging India-Africa partnership. These collaborations gain significance in line of the declining correspondent banking relations, increasing trade finance gaps, and the resultant challenges to trade. As per estimates, the trade finance gap in Africa is over $80 billion, which is leading to lost opportunities for trade. Recognizing these challenges, Exim Bank is working towards bridging the financing gap in trade transactions by providing an effective bridge. It's not okay. Okay, I think I was not loud enough. I don't know, but this way? Okay. Sorry. So recognizing the challenges, Exim Bank is working towards bridging the financing gaps in trade transactions by providing an effective bridge between the local banks in Africa and commercial banks in India. Under its trade assistance program, this program, the bank has partnered with 39 banks in Africa. It's launched very recently, a couple of years back, and the bank has till date supported nearly 124 transactions across 21 countries in Africa, including countries across the range. These transactions, I'm happy to say, were facilitated because of the Exim Bank intervention. The bank has also extended credit lines to financial institutions in the region, such as the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank, African Export-Import Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, Bank of Industry Nigeria, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, and Uganda Development Bank Limited for enhancing bilateral trade. These institutions in Africa are proving to be a very effective partner for Exim Bank, and I would like to thank each and every institution who has partnered with us in our journey in Africa. The bank support under trade assistance program has resulted in incremental trade of nearly $1 billion between India and Africa. So very quickly to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, Exim Bank recognizes the significance of economic research for policy evaluation and informed decision-making by businesses. The bank has recently undertaken an important study that will be released during today's event. The study, titled Unlocking Africa's Sustainable Growth, India's Role and Opportunities, identifies key pathways essential for ensuring resilient and inclusive growth in Africa, including investing in climate-resilient infrastructure, leveraging natural resource wealth for economic transformation, fostering a competitive private sector, and promoting regional integration through mechanisms like the African Continental Free Trade Area. We believe that this study will offer valuable insights for policymakers, businesses, and other stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, India and Africa have several complementary sectors and industries, from agriculture to manufacturing and from healthcare to renewable energy. There are numerous areas where our expertise and resources can converge. I am confident that the Africa-India Partnership Day 2025 will help highlight the areas of convergence and opportunities for greater collaboration for Africa's transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. With those inspiring words, and it beautifully captured the spirit of this enduring partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here to honor the spirit of collaboration between India and Africa, we warmly welcome Mr. Usman Fall, Director of the Industrial Trade Development Department, AFDB. Mr. Fall leads AFDB's initiatives to promote industrialization and regional development integration across Africa. With his expertise in economic development and strategic policy, he plays a pivotal role in shaping the continent's industrial growth and developmental agenda. Sir, over to you to deliver your welcome address.
Your Excellencies, representative of the government of Côte d'Ivoire, honorables, head of institutions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly observed, good morning. Good morning to you all. Allow me to begin by extending my sincere appreciation to the India Exim Bank for its unwavering commitment to Africa's development and for organizing today's gathering under the important theme of mobilizing capital, India's role in catalyzing Africa's sustainable growth. India has proven to be a long-standing and strategic development partner for Africa, not only through its robust bilateral relationship across the continent, but also as a committed shareholder to the African Development Bank. Since joining in 1983, India has supported all general capital increase of the bank and remains actively engaged in critical areas, including health, energy, digital inclusion, trade, and agribusiness. Notably, India's recent contribution to establish a bilateral technical cooperation fund and also its contribution to the Africa Digital Financial Inclusion Facility represent more than financial commitments. They are targeted investment in inclusion, resilience, and long-term sustainability. During the bank's high-level mission to India last year, led by our Senior Vice President and the Vice President for Infrastructure, we witnessed the growing dynamism and depth in India-Africa cooperation across multiple priority sectors that are central to Africa's development. One of the most promising avenues for enhanced collaboration lies in pharmaceutical manufacturing and healthcare infrastructure. With an estimated $111 billion investment gap in Africa's health sector by 2030, the potential for Indian firms to contribute to the continent's self-reliance in essential medicines and diagnostics is immense. The roundtable co-organized with India Exim Bank with leading India pharma companies underscores this potential. Companies are eager to partner in building local manufacturing capacity, supply chains, and digital health infrastructure. The AFDB stands ready to support this ambition with tailored financing, de-risking instruments, and technical policy dialogues with governments. Another area of great synergy is agriculture and food systems. In our engagement with Escort Kubota and the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, we identified multiple pathways for cooperation in mechanization, research collaboration, and agri-policy innovation. India's green revolution and its emphasis on smallholder productivity, seed systems, and agro-extension services offer valuable lessons to our shared continent. We are actively exploring mechanisms to connect India Agri-Research Institution and private actors with African public and private stakeholders to advance food security, value addition, and rural livelihood. Africa's long-term sustainable growth hinges on the successful acceleration of industrialization, digital transformation, and youth empowerment. Indian enterprises, such as Tata Projects and the Renew Power, are already demonstrating the ability to deliver on infrastructure, on energy transition, and climate resilient solutions across Africa, leveraging India's practical experience and adapting to African context. In parallel, digitalization, whether in financial inclusion, public health, or trade logistics, will be critical to unlocking productivity and resilience. The African Development Bank sees immense potential in partnering with Indian actors to support digital infrastructure, skills development, and technology-enabled service delivery, especially in our rural areas and underserved regions. Ladies and gentlemen, looking forward, as we mobilize capital, let us also mobilize knowledge, technology, and trust. The Africa-India partnership has never been more relevant, not more urgent. Together, we can tackle the twin imperative of inclusive growth and sustainable development. The African Development Bank stands ready to deepen the strategic partnership, supporting Indian public and private actors that are committed to developing together with Africa and African people and deliver the long-term value for its economic transformation. I thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring remarks. It eloquently reflected the great potential what companies have in Africa and to strengthen this partnership. With this, now we move on to our next set of session, which is basically our guest address. We now are transitioning to this highly anticipated session, which features eminent thought leaders from Africa and India, where distinguished dignitaries from both regions will share their insights and perspectives. To begin with, to speak on the theme, Mobilizing Capital, the Way Forward Towards Inclusive Growth, it's my privilege to invite Mr. Vivek Saraswat, General Manager and Board Member of the Tata Africa Côte d'Ivoire. A huge round of applause. Mr. Saraswat has over 28 years of experience and currently leads the Africa operations and is one of India's largest conglomerates in India. He brings with him profound experience and passion for building strategic bridges between India and Africa. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Excellencies, honorable ministers or their representatives, governors of African Development Bank, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, and friends. This is my real honor to be here and giving my thoughts on India-Africa partnerships. It's a great privilege to address you today with the theme, Mobilizing Capital, the Way Forward Towards Inclusive Growth. As Africa stands on the threshold of immense social economic potential, with the projected population of 2.5 billion by 2050, the call for capital is not just financial, but it is deeply developmental. As Africa needs $130 billion to $170 billion annually in the infrastructure development project alone, yet faces a financial gap of over $100 billion each year, the gap impedes progress on everything from clean energy to education to clean water to health and housing. In the meantime, trillions of dollars are locked in the global pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and institutional capital, often hesitant to engage with African market due to perceived risk. And this is where the opportunity lies. Our collective challenge and the opportunity is to convert this capital into catalyst for the African inclusive and sustainable growth. India, the world's largest democracy and over 3.8 trillion economy, brings more than just capital. It brings the shared experience, technology, future innovation, and deep commitment for the mutual prosperity. In my opinion, there are 5 pillars for the India-Africa partnership and capital mobilization. They are mainly blended finance and risk mitigation, where India can collaborate with African financial institutions like African Development Bank or AFDB to develop the credit enhancement mechanism, first loss guarantees, and so on. Some of the projects which India has successfully done are India UNICEF blended finance, health initiatives, and others. The second pillar for the India-Africa growth could be green and sustainable financing. India is one of the largest green bond in developing world. African nations can tap into India's technical and regulatory know-how to build a similar capital markets and climate resilience infrastructure, solar energy, and sustainable cities. The third pillar could be strengthening the MSSCs and women enterprises. India's experience on Mudra Bank and self-help groups can be adopted African ecosystem to ensure inclusive financial reaches last mile enterprise, especially women, youth, and informal sector. Digital financing is one of the other pillar where Africa can learn from India. Very successful UPIs where this has been launched in Singapore, UAE, and other countries. The African fintech ecosystem can accelerate the financial inclusion and cross-border trade. The last and the fifth pillar is infrastructure and connectivity. I think this is the pillar where Africa has focused most with India, and Tata, where I represent the company, is one of the beneficiaries of that. That we have gone a lot into mobility, water supply project, transmission, and others. But there is a lot of scope into the other sectors also. For India, the growth in certain sectors is not just mere metrics, but this is more than the development of skill and technology. In conclusion, I can say India, Africa are natural partners. Together we can shape the development model that bottoms up, people's first, climate resilience, and digitally powered. Let us build a capitalistic ecosystem that do not merely invest in project, but invest in people. Let us be guided by the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because we are. This is an African philosophy that reminds us our humanity is bonded together. That is inclusive growth and not the charity, but shared destiny. In mobilizing capital, let us mobilize compassion, community, and courage to ensure no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights and the personal message. With this, we move on to our next guest speaker. It's my privilege to invite Ms. Natsin Mete, Executive Director of the African Development Bank, to deliver an address on strengthening South-South cooperation between India and Africa through developmental financial institutions. Ms. Mete has a diverse constituency comprising Denmark, Finland, India, Ireland, Norway, and Sweden at the AFDB. Ma'am, we welcome you with a huge round of applause to deliver your address.
Thank you very much. Since I also represent these small countries in the north, I hope we can have a sort of a third angle to the triangle, South-South and the High North cooperation maybe. Esteemed representatives of the government of India and India Exim Bank, high-level representatives of the African Development Bank, distinguished representatives of governments and the private sector, ladies and gentlemen. As I'm coming towards the end of my term as Executive Director representing India in the African Development Bank, I'm very pleased with this opportunity to address the Africa-India Partnership Day. I would like to thank both the Government of India and the India Exim Bank for the excellent cooperation over the past 3 years and the support that you have provided to me in my function. This year's Partnership Day, as well as the annual meeting of the AFDB, takes place at the backdrop of a geopolitical situation characterized by a high degree of uncertainty and volatility. So the framework conditions for the African Development Bank to support the sustainable development of countries in Africa are not at their most conducive. It is thus more appropriate than ever for the continent to mobilize its own resources to create the growth needed for the people of Africa, and not least its young women and men, to be able to look towards a brighter future with decent jobs, sustainable livelihoods, and prosperity for all. The tasks lined up are many: solving armed conflicts, stabilizing fragile situation, improving political and economic governance. In short, creating the conditions that would make it attractive for both African and foreign investors to choose Africa as the place to invest their funds. And we all in this room know that the opportunities are here. Natural resources in abundance, a youthful population eager for jobs as just some of the elements in this. A lot of homework has to be done by African governments and the people of Africa. But as dedicated partners of Africa, we can all contribute. The African Development Bank aims to do so through its 10-year strategy, with its strong focus on building infrastructure, transforming energy systems, supporting reforms of legal and regulatory frameworks. However, it's no secret that the availability of financing to pursue these important objectives is more in doubt today than when we last met a year ago. For the African Development Bank, it's thus very positive that a new agreement has been signed with India to continue India's support for technical assistance to bank initiatives, as was mentioned by an earlier speaker. And I understand also that discussions are ongoing for even stronger engagement between the government of India and the bank. I'm also very pleased this year with the Indian business sector reaching out to the bank. From high-level AFDB representation at the last India-Africa Business Conclave last summer, to the long-term strong engagement by the India Exim Bank in the continent and with the AFDB, to the dialogue between the Confederation of Indian Industries and the African Development Bank on a more structured and intensified cooperation. I hope all this support, all this cooperation, all this dialogue will be beneficial for both the Indian interests, the bank, and Africa. Indian companies, of course, have a very deep history in Africa, and it was illustrated again for me in connection with the visit of the board of the bank to Gambia. We inspected a bank-funded rural electrification project where I had the very pleasant exchange with the staff of the Indian contractor implementing the project. So we meet your compatriots everywhere we go. In my view, there's no end to the potential for mutual benefit from stronger engagement by India in Africa. From the transfer of knowledge and technical solutions that have contributed to growth in India and lifted millions out of poverty in your country, to the potential for India to benefit from sustainable development of Africa's resources, not least the critical minerals that are needed for the world's transformation to a fossil-free future. India has taken major strides in the development of renewable energy. And the AFDB and the World Bank, together with more than 40 African countries, have embarked on the Mission 300 initiative to provide 300 million Africans with electricity before 2030. I would strongly encourage my Indian friends to engage wholeheartedly in this initiative. We need your knowledge, your companies, and your investments to succeed. At this annual meeting, a new president of the bank will be elected. It is my hope that she or he will make it a priority, building on the already strong foundation, to seek to further deepen the cooperation with India, including by a visit to India early in his or her tenure. The partnership between India and Africa, including through the strong relationship with the AFDB, is a critical building block for Africa in weathering the current global storm. And as I indicated in the beginning, I would like to stress that the other countries I represent, the Nordic countries and Ireland, with their strong friendship with both India and African countries on both the government and private sector level, could also be a critical third part in the triangle of cooperation. Our countries are all strong supporters of the rule-based multilateral system of cooperation that is under some strain at the moment. And it's all the more important for us as its sound supporters to work even more closely together, including for the benefit of support to sustainable development of the countries of Africa and to improved livelihoods for the people of Africa. So I look forward to continuing the discussion at this event over, I'm sure, a very delicious Indian lunch that we are being offered, as well as during other events at this annual meeting. So thanks a lot for giving me the floor and for listening, and I look forward to the further discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam, for the deep personal message. We certainly are going to miss you next year, but we look forward to your continued support. Moving forward to share insights on the theme Building on Africa's Growth Story through Strategic Partnerships, it's my honor to invite Mr. Lansine Diabe, Director General at the Ministry of Finance, Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. Mr. Diabe plays a key role in shaping Côte d'Ivoire's economic and fiscal strategies, and his leadership is central to fostering sustainable development and attracting strategic investments in the region. A huge round of applause. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, but I have to do this in English. For those who need translation, I believe you have headphones on your table, so if you could put them on, please. Sorry, in French I meant. So a few seconds for you to put your headphones on. Madame la directrice générale d'Exim Inde, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des institutions internationales et multilatérales, distingués invités. Permettez-moi, au nom du gouvernement ivoirien, de vous exprimer toute notre gratitude pour avoir choisi la Côte d'Ivoire comme terre d'accueil de cette rencontre d'envergure. C'est un honneur, mais aussi une responsabilité que nous assumons avec fierté et beaucoup de plaisir. Aujourd'hui, je prends la parole pour évoquer un partenariat que nous considérons comme structurant, stratégique et porteur d'avenir. Le partenariat entre l'Inde et l'Afrique, et plus précisément entre l'Inde et la Côte d'Ivoire. Vous savez, ce qu'on oublie souvent, c'est que l'Afrique et l'Inde partagent bien plus qu'un intérêt économique. Nous partageons une histoire faite d'aspiration au développement social de nos populations et de richesses culturelles inestimables. C'est ce socle commun qui rend notre coopération si particulière. L'Inde est un partenaire précieux pour le développement de la Côte d'Ivoire. Depuis 2005, à travers Exim Bank Inde, ce sont plus de 495 millions de dollars, soit plus de 282 milliards de francs CFA, qui ont été mobilisés pour des projets majeurs dans des secteurs vitaux comme le transport, l'énergie, la santé, l'agriculture et l'agro-industrie. Ces financements ont permis de faciliter la mobilité des personnes et des biens, d'accroître l'accès à l'électricité, d'améliorer la prise en charge sanitaire de nos populations et de moderniser les équipements agricoles. Mais soyons francs, le dernier financement de la coopération indienne date de 2017. Au cours de ces 8 dernières années, nos défis ont évolué, nos besoins se sont accrus. Il est donc temps, ensemble, de redynamiser cette coopération. Redynamiser, qu'est-ce que cela veut dire concrètement? Cela signifie pour nous en Côte d'Ivoire ouvrir un nouveau chapitre, plus audacieux, et plus adaptée aux réalités actuelles. Et pour cela, nous souhaitons proposer aujourd'hui 4 axes concrets. D'abord, un accès renforcé au financement concessionnel, notamment pour des secteurs stratégiques comme l'économie numérique ou à fort impact social comme le secteur de l'hydraulique, où la coopération indienne a déjà œuvré. Ensuite, nous souhaitons un renforcement des partenariats publics-privés que nous souhaitons gagnant-gagnant également, avec la participation d'entreprises indiennes de premier plan et permettant un véritable transfert de compétences vers notre secteur privé. Nous souhaitons également que l'Inde puisse nous accompagner dans le financement de notre transition énergétique. La Côte d'Ivoire a de grandes ambitions face aux défis climatiques et l'expertise indienne en matière d'énergie solaire, d'énergie hydroélectrique ou de biomasse pourrait jouer un rôle clé dans cette optique. Enfin, la digitalisation des services financiers. L'Inde, comme vous le savez, est un modèle en matière d'inclusion financière, mais également d'innovation dans le secteur des fintech. Et nous souhaitons bénéficier également de l'expérience indienne dans ce domaine. Ce partenariat revigoré doit s'inscrire dans le cadre d'une coopération tournée vers l'impact. C'est pourquoi nous proposons la mise en place d'un cadre stratégique ivoiro-indien de concertation également les ministères sectoriels et le secteur permettant ainsi un suivi rigoureux des engagements qui sont pris, mais également des indicateurs de performance pour mesurer cet impact dont je parlais. Dans cette optique, il nous semble également aujourd'hui essentiel d'envisager l'organisation de roadshows
and also the sectoral ministries as well as the private sector to follow up the rigorous commitments, but also to consider performance indicators to measure the impact I talked about earlier. In this regard, we envisage a road show in India. The government organized a number of them in some countries, and we hope to do one in India. This will enable us not only to publicize the business opportunities in Côte d'Ivoire, but also to lay the foundations of a more dynamic cooperation that is more structural and that is win-win. This will bring together our private sectors, and here we can have a positive impact on our bilateral relations, particularly when it comes to the financing of these opportunities. At the end, let me say that our cooperation with India is a precious wealth. It is a pillar of our openness onto the world, particularly the Asian world. Our financing policy of development and our ambitions for emergence. But in any strategic framework, this requires a renewed vision based on reciprocity, innovation, and transparency. Together with our Indian partners, we can meet the challenges of tomorrow. I hope that the meeting that we are going to have today is part of this debate. This perspective that should enable us to move on with our agenda. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. To speak on the theme, Building a Shared Developmental Agenda, it's my distinct honor to invite Dr. Rajesh Ranjan, Ambassador of India to the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. A seasonal diplomat and an advocate of South-South cooperation, Dr. Ranjan has been instrumental in deepening India's strategic and developmental agenda in Africa. We welcome you, sir. A huge round of applause for sir, please.
Thank you. Namaskar, and good afternoon to you all. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests from the Government of Côte d'Ivoire, representative of African Development Bank, officers from Government of India, and the officers from Export-Import Bank of India, esteemed member of civil society, private sector partners, and friends of Africa and India. A very good afternoon to you all. It is a profound honor to address you today at the India-Africa Partnership Day, a cornerstone of African Development Bank 2025 annual meeting. As we gather in Abidjan under the theme Making Africa's Capital Work Better for Africa's Development, we are reminded of immense potential that lies in our shared vision for prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future. Today, I will reflect on India's role in mobilizing capital to catalyze Africa's sustainable growth and the importance of building a shared development agenda that empowers both our regions to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Africa and India nearly 2.8 billion. Our regions represent a dynamic force for global economic transformation. India, as Africa's third largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching 103 billion in 2023, has emerged as a trusted ally in unlocking Africa's vast potential. The Export-Import Bank of India has been a linchpin in this partnership, extending over 12.37 billion line of credit to 42 African countries for 200 projects as of 2024. These investments have supported transformative initiatives in infrastructure, agriculture, healthcare, and technology sectors critical to sustainable growth. From building roads and power plants to establishing digital networks like the Pan-African e-network 20 years ago, India contributes aligned with Africa's priorities, fostering local capacities and creating opportunities for millions. Yet the challenges before are immense. Africa faces a financing gap of 345 billion to meet the SDGs, compounded by rising debt burdens and global economic headwinds. India's model of development cooperation offers a compelling pathway forward. Unlike traditional models that imposes conditionalities, India's approach is demand-driven, focusing on technology transfer, as my colleague from Ministry of Finance has mentioned, skill development and infrastructure that empowers African nations to chart their own course. For instance, India's leadership in International Solar Alliance with $2 billion earmarked for solar projects in Africa is helping to electrify the Sahel region and advance energies across for the millions. Moreover, India's private sector is stepping up. Indian companies in pharmaceutical, telecommunication, and agriculture are investing in African markets, creating jobs and fostering innovation. The Exim Bank soft loans further strengthening financial linkages by mitigating risks for African banks, enabling SMEs to thrive in sectors like agriculture and trade. These efforts align with AFDB mission to mobilize Africa's capital, human, natural, and financial for transformative impact. As we look ahead, India is committed to deepening this partnership. We must leverage innovative financing mechanisms such as blended financing and green bonds to unlock the 2.3 trillion sovereign wealth funds, pension and insurance assets, as mentioned by Tata in his speech. By co-investing in climate-resilient infrastructure, digital transformation, and green energy, India and Africa can turn billions into trillions, ensuring the sustainable growth that benefits our people and protects our planet. Our partnership is not just about capital, it is about shared values and shared vision. Africa's Agenda 2063 and India's Amrit Kal vision for 2047 both aspire to inclusive growth, technological advancement, and global leadership. To build a shared developmental agenda, we must focus on three key pillars: human capital, technology, and equitable partnership. Let me start with the first, human capital. Is a heartbeat of our progress. Africa's youth population and India's skilled workforce are our greatest asset. Through initiative like India's iTech program, which has trained over 200,000 African professionals, we are equipping young Africans with the skill to lead in agriculture, IT, and healthcare. Collaborative projects such as India's support for institution building and scholarships are fostering a generation of African innovators who will drive sustainable development. Second, the technology is a bridge to our future. India's digital revolution, exemplified by innovations in mobile banking and e-governance, offers a lesson for Africa's digital transformation. The Pan-African e-network connecting 54 African countries to India for telemedicine and teleeducation is a testament to our shared commitment to harness technology for development. As India builds its digital infrastructure, India stands ready to partner in areas like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and renewable energy technologies. The equitable partnership are the foundation for our agenda. India's development cooperation is guided by African priorities, ensuring that our collaboration liberates potential rather than constrain it. The India-Africa Partnership Day is a tradition since 2013, embodies this spirit of mutual respect by aligning with the AFDB's high fives: power, feed, industrialization, integrate, and improve quality of life. We can amplify our impact, ensuring that Africa's capital works better for its people. India believes that Africa's rise is essential for global peace, progress, and sustainability. Our approach is guided by the philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, world is one family, and Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Together with all, development for all. As we face common challenges, from climate change to food security, from pandemics to financial inclusion, India remains ready to stand with Africa in solidarity and action. As we stand at this pivotal moment, let us reaffirm our commitment to partnership with the transcend borders and generation. India's role in mobilizing capital for Africa's sustainable growth is not just about financing projects, it is about co-creating a future where our people thrive. By building a shared developmental agenda rooted in human capital, technology, and equity, we can transform challenges into opportunities and aspiration to realities. Together, let us make Africa capital work better for Africa's development. Let us make Africa-India partnership a beacon of hope, resilience, and prosperity for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A huge round of applause for all our 4 guest speakers, please. I would now like to invite our Managing Director, Ms. Harsha Bangari, our 4 guest speakers, Mr. Saraswat, Madam Mete, Mr. Jiabi, as well as Dr. Ranjan, to release the Exim Bank publication. On stage, please. So before the release, and while our guests are coming up on stage, I'll give you a brief of the release. The study is titled Unlocking Africa's Sustainable Growth, India's Role and Opportunities. The study highlights successful examples of India's developmental partnership and examines innovative financing mechanisms such as green and sustainability-linked bonds for facilitating Africa's development. The study also recommends avenues for strengthening future economic trade and investment partnership between India and Africa. Following the release, the study is freely downloadable from our website, as well as on the QR code which is shown on the screen. Requesting our guests to showcase the study for a photograph, please. Thank you, dignitaries. We now move on to an insightful and an engaging session on experience sharing by delegates from India and Africa. The dialogue, which will be there over the next hour and so, will provide real-world perspectives of both regions, showcasing the practical lessons, collaborative initiatives, as well as the shared challenges and the opportunities that define India-Africa partnership. With great honor, I invite our panelists on stage. Mr. Admasu Tedese, Group President and Managing Director of Trade and Development Bank. A widely respected leader in Africa finance, Mr. Tedese has been instrumental in expanding TDB's impact across the continent through innovative trade and development financing mechanisms. Sir, we welcome you on stage, please. Joining him, I invite Mr. Mo Kubelo, Chief Risk Officer at the Developmental Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA. With deep expertise in financial risk management and sustainable development, Mr. Kubelo plays a key critical role in shaping responsible leading strategies across the Southern African region. Sir, we invite you on stage, please. A huge round of applause. Joining him is Mr. Somashekar Desale, Director Africa, Cooper Pharma, an advocate of accessible healthcare. Mr. Desale has been leading Cooper Pharma's outreach across the continent, strengthening pharmaceutical partnerships and local manufacturing capacity. Sir, please welcome on stage. A huge round of applause, please.
All right, you're still watching Newsday on Arise News Channel, live in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. We've been watching the African Development Bank 2025 annual meetings with a focus on Africa-India Partnership Day. And of course, a wide range of topics have been discussed so far.